And it's going to be a great topic, and it's something that really comes up a lot. And it's usually something that we encounter when we're trying to really do some positive things in our lives. It really comes up. So welcome to Self-Sabotage and Emotional Eating. And again, this is just informational purposes only. I can't fix everybody's problem in the next 30 minutes or so, but hopefully I'll be able to whet your appetite a little bit so you'll take this information and move forward so you can face these challenges head on and finally lose the weight that you've been trying to lose. And a lot of people in this group, are here for different reasons, trying to lose weight or overcoming other issues along with the weight gain. Some of you have thyroid illness, some of you have digestive issues, some of you have metabolic syndrome or diabetes, high blood pressure. All of these strategies will apply to you. So it's really about getting healthy enough to lose weight and starting to think and act like a healthy person. So let's go ahead and talk about self-sabotage. And we've all encountered or been a victim of self-sabotage at one point or another, whether it has to deal with our business, our education, our health, you name it. Self-sabotage just seems to be part of being human. And when we're younger, we don't really recognize it. But as we get older, we see how it really affects our choices and our decisions and really trying to move forward with our lives. So tonight we're going to help you get clear on what it is and why we let it affect our decisions. And I understand and I believe that once you really become aware of self-sabotage, it's much easier to address. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that are victims of self-sabotage and don't even realize it. And I know personally, some people had to bring it to my attention before I was able to change it. I wasn't even aware of it until someone brought it to my attention. And then with that, I was able to create new habits that were that were helping me versus and not hurting me. So self-sabotage are usually habits that hurt you, where I don't know the word for what's opposite of self-sabotage. I don't know what that is, but technically they're healthy habits that help us move forward. So what we want to do is do more things that are good for us and less of the things that are bad for us. But before we can do that, we have to know and become aware of that. So first of all, let's start with the definition of self-sabotage. So I found this really great definition that really sums up what it really is. And that's when one part of your personality acts in conflict with another part of your personality. So a perfect example of that is a part of you wants to just stay in the bed and just sleep in, where another part of you is saying, you need to get out the bed and work out. Another great example is when you're trying to make healthier eating choices. One side of you is like, let me have a salad, just make better alternative choices, have some baked chicken, a salad, skip on the bread and the dessert, where the other side of you is saying, hey, bring on the French fries, the fried chicken, and I want to wash it down with the soda and have cheesecake for dessert. And, and then you want to drink more water on one side, but you keep reaching for that Coke. So we all have different scenarios that we deal with when it comes to one personality wants to do one thing and the other half of us wants to do another. And sometimes we struggle with ourselves. That's why I say a lot, we have to get ourselves out the way because we're sometimes our own worst enemy. So we really got to become aware. And if you have some great examples of some things you deal with, and it's a good exercise for you, if you have some self-sabotaging things that you do, share them with us. And what you'll find out is when you write them down or say them to yourself, you'll find some humor in it. And sometimes when you start to recognize yourself, you tend to laugh at yourself and you're able to move forward once you recognize it's there. So those are just some common examples. I know there's a lot more, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on and really focus on how self-sabotage really affects your effort to lose weight. So again, there's many different ways that self-sabotage can affect us. It can affect, our business, our relationships, how we do anything, really. But I really want to talk about how self-sabotage can affect your weight loss and health goals. So before I get into that, there are 3 common forms that include procrastination. So a lot of times, procrastination is a form of self-sabotage where we tend to put things off. I'll start my eating plan next week, or I'll wait to start working out on Monday. Things that you could do today, or even tomorrow, we'll put off and keep putting off and keep putting off. So that's procrastination. That's an example of that. Another one is self-medicating, with drugs or alcohol. And a lot of us may self-medicate with smoking or drinking and things of that sort. So, if we're dealing with some emotional things, we tend to self-medicate with food even, and drugs and alcohol. And then there's another one which is very common, and it's part of the title of this Q&A, is emotional and comfort eating. And that's huge. That's huge. So emotional and comfort eating is a type of self-sabotage, and I'll be putting some attention on explaining what that is. So the most dangerous part about self-sabotage is when you're not aware of it. A lot of these self-sabotaging habits were created when we were younger. We got awarded for certain behaviors with certain foods. For example, if we got good grades, we got candy. Or if we weren't feeling well, if we hurt ourselves, we got ice cream. And a lot of those things that we were programmed to do when we were younger got carried on to adulthood. But as we were younger, it didn't affect our health as obviously as it did now. So here we are 20, 30, 40 years later, still trying to treat ourselves with a candy or alcohol to reward ourselves, or if we're feeling badly, we will have ice cream or even alcohol. Sometimes we drink alcohol to celebrate, and sometimes we drink it just to cheer us up a little bit, or after a long, hard day. So everybody does different things for different reasons, but the exercise I want you to do is, what are your top 3 self-sabotaging behaviors? What do you tend to do? And a lot of us, if you're on this page trying to lose weight, you kind of know what's stopping you. You just want to know how to do it. And I really believe that the first step is becoming aware. And also, after you doing this self-sabotaging habits for decades, it gets our attention, not only when it affects our health and our efforts to lose weight. For some of these habits may affect our finances. Some of these self-sabotaging behaviors can really affect how we manage our money. It can affect our family and our lives. So that's when we really want to change, is when we realize that these self-sabotaging, they aren't only hurting ourselves, but they're hurting the ones we love as well. So if that sounds like you really need to really pay attention to this so you can stop that cycle and move forward. And not only will you be happier, but the people around you will be happier, and you'll get better results with your life, not just in health, but it really affects your life. Say, for example, alcohol is expensive. These junk foods are expensive. So if you learn to get control of these self-sabotaging behaviors, you'll be able to save money, for example. So really think about how these things are affecting you, and understand that when you want to change, when that desire to change is strong enough, you can stop this bad behavior. And these are habits. These are habits that we have been holding on to for a very, very long time. And personally, I really think that a lot of these habits are used to avoid what's really going on. If you're an emotional eater and you're eating comfort foods, what's that emotion you're masking? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it grief? We're taught so much that we shouldn't feel a certain way, that it's a sign of weakness to feel sad or scared, but it's an emotion. And the thing is, we have to really learn to connect with the emotions. I remember talking to a client, and I call it an emotional detox. Sometimes we just got to let these emotions externally, because I believe that when we hold in our emotions or mask the emotions or delay feeling these emotions, they affect us as sickness. They affect us as excess weight. They affect us as being more tired and exhausted. So we really need to know how to express our emotions safely and in a safe place. And that will do more. It'll help us more than really creating sabotage behavior. So really understand that it's okay to feel what you feel and acknowledge that. You know, sometimes if I'm feeling down, I will journal. You know, you got to kind of start to create things that help you overcome that. Write out why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And then you'll realize that makes you feel better. If you have someone you can trust that you can talk to, do that. Because understand, if you're indulging in ice cream and sweets and alcohol and things like that, you know long term it's not going to help your emotions, it's not going to help your problem, and the cycle just continues. But when you start to go through that emotion, that's when you have those breakthroughs, and that emotion doesn't stop you in your tracks anymore. It doesn't stop you anymore. It doesn't block you anymore. So just think of it as this barrier that you have to go through. And at that other side of that trauma, that emotion, that lesson, at the other side is where we have our breakthroughs, is that where we have our lessons. And we really don't teach people how to do that. We need to teach our young kids need to learn how to be accountable. They need to learn how to express their emotions. And I really feel like people are losing the ability to feel, to express. We're taught to put on this mask and act like everything's okay and not really confiding in each other and really try to work through the issue. So that's really important to understand. And I'm real passionate about it because we've all been through it. I've been through it, and we're going to go through it. But you need to be aware of it so that you can be more proactive and not let these emotions take over. You have control, and you need to do what you need to do so that you can do what you need to get well and take care of the things that you need to take care of. And let's see. So, here's some, 6 things to do to overcome self-sabotage. And we did the first one already, is understand what it is. And understand that it is a habit. Self-sabotage is a habit. Calling yourself too old or not smart enough or too fat, or even saying I'm tired or I can't do something. That is a habit. Think about the times you talk yourself out of stuff. When you don't realize it, you don't realize you're doing it. But when I hear clients do it, I bring it to their attention. A lot of people don't realize how negatively they speak to themselves, about themselves. But when I bring it to their attention, they're like, wow, that sounds real pathetic. So really start to be mindful of what you're telling yourself, what you're saying about yourself, and understanding that that too is a habit. And you got to recognize those. That's the first path to healing, is recognize it. Because if you don't know the problem is there, it's very hard to solve it. So every solution has a problem, but you just got to know what the problem is and then find that solution for it. So first you got to recognize it. First you got to understand what it is, and then recognize how it applies to you. And then what you got to do is really reflect on them. Try to understand, why did this habit start? Did it start when a certain event happened? For example, what is the trigger? When you're tired, do you tend to self-sabotage when you're tired? Do you tend to self-sabotage after someone upsets you at work, after an argument with your partner or child? What are these triggers? Usually when you experience self-sabotage, there is a trigger. And then with that trigger, you created that self-sabotaging behavior, that habit, and then you got that reward. Yes, when you eat that ice cream or have that glass of wine or eat that fried chicken, you get that reward. Your hormones are secreted. You're feeling high and bubbly for a while. It's temporary, but you're enjoying that fix and that high, and whatever it is, there is a reward. Even frustration or arguing or being upset, people get a reward from feeling fearful. People get a reward for being a victim because people will give them attention and all these different things. People get a reward by complaining about their aches and pains, believe it or not. So rewards, people get addicted to positive and negative rewards. So a lot of times it's hard to change the trigger. You know, we have a job that we have families that we have circumstances that are not easily changed, our homes, where we live, our traffic, you know, certain things cannot change. And sometimes we can't change the reward. We all love to feel a certain way. But what we can change is that habit. So once you get aware and reflect on that habit and its triggers, what you do is start to change that habit and replace that self-sabotaging habit to something more positive, something that will serve you. So you got to replace those bad habits with the good habits. For example, instead of having a long day of work, reaching for the ice cream, and then having that reward like, oh, everything is okay. Change that to, okay, let me write my journal. Let me get on my treadmill. I mean, it's going to be different. You got to really explore what will work for you. For me, it's music, reading a book, sometimes lighting a candle and just lying down for a while, taking a nap, having some downtime. Sometimes you just got to distract yourself. You know, when I talk to other clients about this, you know, I share a lot about what I do. And sometimes you just got to distract yourself and not put so much energy on that thing that you know will not serve you. So you got to play with that. And I'm interested in hearing what you do or what you've experimented with. Please share in the comment section what you do, and that'll help other people. You know, share your ideas. And it does work. It takes time. You know, a lot of us try to change 3 or 4 bad behaviors at once or self-sabotaging habits. It takes time. It took you a while to create these habits. It's going to take time to get out. So, and then the good news is once you get down one, you know, replacing one bad habit with a good habit, the other ones become a lot easier. So start with something small. You know, you've been putting off working out. You got this new gym membership and you've been putting it off. Say you'll do it tomorrow. Call a friend and say, hey, let's go work out tomorrow. I need an accountability partner. Let's go. Because sometimes you need someone to pull your hand and get you to where you need to go. And then after that, you can, you know, you can do it yourself. But it's okay to reach out. It's okay to reach out to groups like this, because that's why I created it, just so you can be motivated to do what you need to do. And set goals. You know, this kind of applies to the same thing. Choose 1 or 2 things that you want to focus on. I'll say this week, choose one thing that you want to do, work on this week. And don't add anything else until you mastered it. So what is your biggest self-sabotaging behavior? Is it eating snacks at night? Is it procrastinating? Is it not drinking enough water and instead you're drinking Coke or sweet tea? You know what that is. So share it with us and say, you know what, I'm going to replace it with this, and let me know how it goes. So self-sabotage and emotional eating, it's a very important topic, really something that we need to address. And for those who took the time to watch this, I hope this helps you. Please share your comments and questions, and have a great night.